Um, how is the IDB approach incorporating that perspective into the equation?
Um, First of all, I think the first thing that we did for the book that's presented to all of you is that we came up with this selection toolkit because the area that we wanted to try to recognize for a country to identify which industry and which products that has got the highest potential to be plugged into the global value chain. So that was the key research question that we had in this book, which has not been done academically before. So we felt that there was a need to find a systematic tool to identify which industries. So when we talk about global value chain and the analysis part of things, as mentioned by Stacy just now, um, a step before that is where we try to find industries or products where we can have the highest potential that would give the highest value add to the country. So how we did this was, as presented just now in the video also, the IDB's value chain approach has got three areas. So the first area is natural potential. So we look at the natural potential of the country in terms of quantitatively, we look into areas like revealed comparative advantage. We use trade data to look into it. And on qualitative side, we also go on the ground, have survey questions to look at employment numbers by very micro level employment numbers. So that's one angle, which is the natural potential. The second part of it is we look at the dynamic potential. So the dynamic potential is basically the areas where we try to find the highest growth and demand for particular product at a very disaggregated level. So it is at HS4 level. We look at products and we try to identify the products using 6 indicators that is described in the book, where these 6 indicators would describe, will come up with an index, where this index would show you which are the highest potential product in terms of dynamic. So the angle that's looked at is in terms of the technological research that is going into the particular product, in terms of the market demand growth, and then in terms of the distance of the market, and also the market access of countries. So this is the second part of the approach. The third part of the approach looks into the surplus and spillover effect. This is where I think it's very much related to the development angle, where we don't want a selection of a particular industry that is isolated by itself. We want to see how, by looking into the input-output table, we look at how particular industry could have spillover effects to other industries. So practically, in terms of like IDB's intervention, if IDB's intervention is in a particular industry like mining, building a power plant in the mining sector, how it would relate to the other industries in the country. So that's the surplus and spillover effect, where we look into input-output table to a certain extent. We look at the domestic value added, foreign value added, and indirect value add that is included. To give you a very practical example of how specialization could bring benefits to member countries, we did a short value chain analysis on Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of the highest exporter of product ethylene and polypropylene. So ethylene and polypropylene are mainly used in like plastic sector mainly, and what Saudi Arabia does is they just export this raw material, which is used completely globally in different markets. From our research, from our whole global value chain approach research, we found that if we could tap into a small specialized market, for example, the automotive chemicals, just focusing all the ethylene and polypropylene by just having a cluster in Saudi Arabia that focuses on automotive chemicals by just tapping into 20% of the global market of automotive chemicals. Because like chemicals are used everywhere in a car. Whether you know it or not, even the seats of a car it uses chemicals that is processed from ethylene. So if you tap into that market, you'll be able to open up a market of 57.6 billion, where the country is right now only exporting 11 billion of ethylene and polypropylene. So a higher value add in specialization in automotive chemicals could open up a bigger market, and also it would create, secondly, a huge opportunity in terms of job. The jobs that are created are also of higher income and requires higher skills as well. So the way that IDB looks at it is we look at the whole value chain from end to end. How do we, from the raw material up to the level of the product being exported? So that's one example. And one last example that I'll give is in Gabon. We had, in the timber industry, we found a very special species of wood that is not available in any part of the world. It's called okume. Okume is one of the best wood, and it's the lightest wood. However, people in the world, in the global market, don't understand okume. They just regard it as any other wood product. So it's categorized and standardized like any other wood product. It is actually there's one wood product in Malaysia which is called Meranti. So it's the same price as Meranti. However, the characteristics is more special than Meranti, and it's lighter than Meranti, which in research, the use of okume they have done like advanced level of research that it can be used in aeroplanes to reduce the weight that is used like in some wood paneling materials in aeroplanes. So by tapping into these kind of areas of specialization, countries would be able to move into higher value-added exports and produce higher value-added products. So this is the whole idea of IDB's global value chain approach, and also the selection toolkits allows us to look into specialized areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to shed some light on this latest emerging trend, this protectionism.